My turn for a video. Let's go, Brandon.
Oh no. Bye, YouTube. It was nice knowing you.
Welcome back to the RV Odd Couple. My name is John.
And I'm Mercedes. And long story short, we sold most of our possessions to RV full-time in pursuit of freedom, independence, and adventure.
Because life is so short, guys, and the world is upside down and crazy. Mercedes is terrified to do these types of videos.
So please make sure you subscribe to our newsletter, because after we get canceled, you're not going to see our videos surface. So make sure you guys give us your email, because ultimately that's the only way we're really going to be able to get in touch with you.
Yeah.
And also, if you want to watch our videos, you're probably going to have to search us out, assuming that we don't get canceled, because our videos just won't surface, because you're not allowed to do topics like this. You pick one week, I pick another week. But I think it's like...
So this video is going to be suppressed if you can, if the RV Odd Squad, please. If you agree with it, share it. Give it a thumbs up. Comment on it.
I don't want to do this video because, A, I don't feel like sharing how I believe publicly. I think that's my business. B, I don't want people to assume that I agree with everything he says, because sometimes our votes cancel each other out and sometimes they're in unison. It just depends on the situation.
Well, you believe in keeping your head down right now because...
Well, this is our livelihood, and you're basically saying, like, you're shooting holes in the boat.
No, I'm not shooting holes in the boat.
You're totally shooting holes and playing with dynamite in the boat, because you know that certain platforms allow certain conversations and disallow certain conversations. And that's what's so difficult, is that, yes, we need freedom of speech is really important.
We have to have freedom of speech.
But the platform is privately owned company, technically.
I'm praying to God that other people will start to stand up and speak up and be willing to risk everything to try to save the gifts that we've experienced for our children and our grandchildren. And that's the reason I wanted to shoot this video. It wasn't to put our channel at risk. It wasn't to try to really upset my wife. It's that this stuff keeps me up at night. And I worry about the things that are going on in our country. And every time I think it can't get any crazier, it does. And one whole side of the argument, half of our population is being silenced and shamed into obscurity and afraid to speak up. I'm praying to God that other people will do the same thing, so that we may save what this beautiful country is for our children and our grandchildren. That's why I did it.
The pendulum has swung too far. What started off as a good movement for acceptance and anti-bullying has turned into something that is insane. More bullying and a lack of acceptance in the opposite direction.
Exactly.
And it's still...
So they're accusing one side of being everything that they are. It's nuts. It's the biggest hypocrisy I've ever seen in my life. And the fact that you know, there's a lot of voices out there that will not be heard.
Yeah.
Because social media and the big corporations are suppressing those messages.
Yeah.
And our country was built on argument and different ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
A melting pot, not a smoothie, people.
Yes.
We had this happen in last week's video. He was accused of mansplaining because he disagreed with me. And ironically, it's like, you're just now realizing he's a grumpy curmudgeon? We've been on YouTube 3 years and you're just now realizing he's a massholio?
Yeah, massholio from Massachusetts, right? But
yeah.
But the truth is, Mercedes and I love each other deeply, right?
No, it's not the truth. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
We're best friends in the center. And it's crazy because when I talk about ideas, Mercedes will look at me with these crazed eyes like I am insane, and people think it's absolutely hilarious. But when I look at her like her ideas are crazy, I get attacked. And you guys don't think that Mercedes is a big enough girl to take care of herself? If I cross the line, don't worry, I'm putting my place fast.
Well, and let me finish. That's exactly my point, is that when a man disagrees with a woman, if he comes off too aggressive, then he's a bigoted butt.
Right? And I'm passionate about everything.
In his passion... I get it, guys. It's a lot. Like, I sometimes I'm like, can you dial it down just a little bit?
Right.
Because sometimes I can't hear the validity of his argument because you lose your cool, you lose your case, right? So that's important.
But
with that said, it's really difficult for a man to disagree with a woman and do so assertively without being perceived as
abusive
or a jerk or
right.
Because now, and it's tricky for a woman as well to how are you assertive towards a guy without coming off as a you know the B word I'm thinking. So either way,
I
it's
never
just
said
tricky. No, I said that.
All right.
It's tricky. How do you fight in a good way?
Right, and I think we've done a really good job at that. One of the coolest things about our channel is we cover topics that no one else will. And we do it honestly, openly, and authentically. Neither one of us know how to act. So we start the camera rolling and we'll have a conversation. And most of you think it's absolutely hilarious, but there's 10% of people that think it's abusive and wrong. And I don't believe that hushing one half of the country is the way to go. They're coming up with these narratives, and anybody that speaks against it or gives the opposite side of a debate is hushed. You're not allowed to say it. And what they're doing now is they're shaming us to not say anything. You know, when they're turning our kids on one another with segregation, I mean, that's a progressive idea now, segregation. It's insanity. When you can't talk about the difference between a man and a woman.
I don't want it to sound like I don't support people pursuing freedom of choice and happiness, and if that's how you identify yourself. What I don't want is like that MMA fight gone wrong. That was not acceptable.
And you guys have heard of this, right? In the MMA, a guy who decided he wanted to become a girl, they allowed him to fight a girl, and he smashed her face in. And at the end of the fight, he's got his hands up like he did something special. They shouldn't have been in the ring together.
Yeah. And even the way you just described it, you have to be careful. You need to say like the transitioned woman shouldn't have been allowed to compete against the biological woman.
Right. But
because if you say it, you're, you know, like you don't want to step on someone's pronouns.
Yeah, and I believe a man is a man and a woman is a woman. I just think the whole narrative that's going on in our country now is insane. And every time I think that it can't get any more insane, it does. And it's a scary time because without the First Amendment, without each of us having the right to share our beliefs, you know, with others, we're in deep, deep trouble, guys. Really big trouble. And I felt it was a responsibility every week since this has been going on for the past couple of years. Mercedes will edit out stuff that I put in the videos.
Yeah, because it doesn't have a place. Because I have an alternative for you. What if our job is to bring joy? What if our job is to bring truth in other ways? I do agree that a lot of the RVing community is sleeping and they're in a dream state that's not reality. And one of the things that has differentiated us is that we're not afraid to say like how it is. However, we don't need to like bomb our boat that our ship is in, you know, that
and
our
I'm
family...
not meaning to shoot holes in our boat, right? When we left 3 years ago on this adventure, Mercedes and I gave our will and our lives over to the care of God. We did. We decided we were going to start a YouTube channel. We were going to start shooting videos. We were going to tell the truth, even if it was embarrassing. We were going to share our whole experience. And we've been blessed beyond belief. And to feel hushed in silence and not able that my ideas and my beliefs needs to be blocked out of the conversation period across all social media is insane, and it's dangerous.
It is dangerous because the reality is iron sharpens iron, and different opinions actually bring about the middle. We need the middle. Extremes are bad. And let's call a spade a spade. Where we've moved, some people have called you liberal, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
They've called
we can't make anybody happy,
we
you guys.
Can't. We get the friendly fire all the time because, oh, well, I'm glad that y'all mention God, but you don't do it right or you're not good enough.
Yeah.
When we've always been very upfront with how flawed we are.
We call it friendly fire, right?
Yeah.
We're Christians and down in the South, and there's Christians here that think that we're not conservative enough. So we get it from both ends.
But when we were in Colorado, he was like considered super conservative, but here in Alabama, he's considered a lib.
Right. And I don't know what I really don't understand, and I think it's a dangerous idea that people that have a certain political view should be hushed and silenced. Even just searching YouTube or Facebook nowadays, I can't get the information I'm looking for.
Because the thing is like what's surfaced. And so I get it in an effort to produce quote unquote the truth. But even in science, I think that competing viewpoints bring about the truth. It kind of reminds me, ironically, so World War II, Hitler started killing off his generals that would disagree with him.
Right.
He surrounded himself with an echo chamber.
The same ideology.
Well, not just ideology. He created so much fear that to disagree with him meant you would die. So the generals just would agree to really poor military maneuvers. And so ironically, if he had allowed people to disagree with him, he probably could have won.
And
Which I'm glad he didn't.
Right,
no
thank
mistake,
God. But also something that was happening in 1938 was that a part of society was being called unclean, right, and blocked out, and they weren't worthy, and they shouldn't get health care, and they shouldn't be fed. And we're looking at those kind of things right now. Within 2 years of that, World War II broke out. I really believe in my heart that we have to stand up. And it's like, what happened to all the men in our country? Stand up and say something. You know, even if they're not going to play it. And what's happening across our country right now, thank God, is it's our moms. The moms are standing up and screaming at the top of the lungs at these school board meetings because they don't want their kids to be taught racism and segregation, which is supposedly a progressive idea right now. And they're being investigated by the FBI.
John, do you hear that noise?
No.
It's like a... Is it a hog? There's wild hog here, right?
I think it's a bird.
You think it's a bird?
I think it's just a
Are
bird,
you loaded?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
always packing.
Okay.
We're good. We're good.
Okay, I'm like, I think it's a wild hog.
It's a wild hog. You got your gun, honey?
Yeah, you got your gun?
I always have my
Because I
gun.
don't. No, and I don't want to be put in a box that I agree with everything he says and that I don't. Because I'm really down the middle.
We have good friends who are from the gay LGBT community and family members as well.
That I defend
We
their right
love
to
them.
pursue freedom and happiness.
Absolutely. But for God's sakes, let us have the conversation.
Let us disagree.
Let's agree to disagree without
Allow us
calling
to
each
have
other
the disagreement.
horrible names.
Yeah.
You know, and it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart to see what's happening. Not for myself. I mean, it does. It scares me. I live in fear a lot of times when I pay too much attention to the insanity that's going on in this world.
Every day.
But I get scared. I get really scared for Sage and my other children. Of what in the world are we going into? It looks like we're repeating history all over again. And the reason why is they're not teaching our kids in school. They're teaching this ideology and not true history so we don't repeat it. What's going on right now in our country is like 1938, where they're taking certain members of society and saying they're unacceptable. They should not be heard. They shall not be fed. They shall not be taken care of in a hospital. And it's just scary.
Well, and here's what I think is important, because now you go down the like scary, doomed rabbit hole, and I need to keep my eye on hope. And so what is the solution? The solution is to disagree with your loved ones and have uncomfortable conversations. The solution is to make sure you spend time with your children and your grandchildren and don't expect other institutions to do that.
Right.
The solution is to keep your eyes on what you want, to keep your eyes on God and not worry about the outside stuff.
Right.
And know that it's going to be uncomfortable. Somehow we decided that life's supposed to be easy, and that's not the case.
It's not the case
So
at
know
all.
that the discomfort is coming, but also know what we're aiming for instead of it being against, because
Right.
that's the problem.
And for those of you that thought I was disrespectful in last week's video towards Mercedes, I'm passionate. I wear my emotions on my sleeve.
Yeah,
you know?
it's true. It's kind of, I get it, guys. I get it. He wasn't trying to mansplain. He
No.
just can't help himself.
Yeah, what Mercedes is trying to say here is that I'm an amazing lover. I'm an absolutely amazing lover.
Yeah, exactly. And
And this is why she puts up with me.
And thank goodness I have him to explain what I'm trying to say, because without him explaining my thoughts, how would you ever know what I mean? Because heaven forbid I communicate from myself. I need him to translate. No, and it's funny. He is kind of getting a little bit more grumpy, but it's equally grumpy. He'll be just as mad about something that's a really big deal as if I move like the forks and the spoons, if I move them in the wrong place. Like,
Right.
he's a nut.
I consider myself the most blessed man on the planet. I really don't feel worthy of the life that I have today.
I can relate to that.
And the incredible work that God is doing in our lives and the people in the community that we're building together.
Yep.
And what's happening now is we're being forced into these little different communities. They want to keep us separated, guys. And
Yeah.
it's tearing us apart.
So if you're conservative, you need to find a liberal friend, and if you're a liberal, you need to find a conservative friend, and you need to argue your points out and still be nice to each other, even though you totally disagree. We need different people arguing. If you have a YouTube channel, I dare you to say, let's go Brandon, and go buy YouTube on a video. You won't do it. None of the big RV channels would ever do it. I
Right.
doubt that they have the gall, because they know they could lose their livelihood.
Right.
But especially if you fought in the military and that sort of thing, you would think, especially if your audience is the same as our audience, you would think. But I don't believe that other people have the strength to do it, which is why I wish that you didn't have the strength to do it, because if we're the only ones that say it, then we're just nothing. But if other people chime in, then it actually means something.
Exactly. I feel that we're at a point now of great danger in our country, and we're slipping into something that has happened before in the past. And it scares the heck out of me, not just for my own family, but for the country. It really scares me for my children. We make it very clear we believe in God, family, and country. And that's what the RV Odd Squad is. That's the work we're doing now. We focus on helping God's other kids, and God takes incredibly good care of us. Our cup is running over. I'm willing to give up my riches, my treasure, and my blood to protect my child's right to have the life that I had when I was her age. The world is a different place, and it's scary as hell.
So please make sure you subscribe to our newsletter, because after we get canceled, you're not going to see our videos surface. So make sure you guys give us your email, because ultimately that's the only way we're really going to be able to get in touch with you.
Yeah.
And also, if you want to watch our videos, you're probably going to have to search us out, assuming that we don't get canceled, because our videos just won't surface, because you're not allowed to do topics like this.